technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Tough Talking Thursday. My name is Dennis Jah, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Every Thursday, we come your way with Tough Talking Thursday. This is where we tough, and we give no room for any form of tabata. Well, tonight, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is back in the news. Love her or not, she is a force to contend with when it comes to Liberian politics. She is known as the proverbial iron lady, and this iron lady really has produced some iron. She has dominated the Liberian politics for well over 30 years. So we're going to be looking at President Sirleaf tonight, and we say Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Liberian politics. That's what we're going to be talking about. Before then, we're going to look at some current issues. There is a guy, he's the director of police at the Liberian National Police, or the Liberian City Police. That's Monrovia City Police Director. He's back in Monrovia, and he's alleging that certain Liberians in the United States were trying to coerce him into defaming his boss, City Mayor Jefferson Tamba Koji. We're going to look at that as well. With me to discuss this issue, I have Mr. J. Victor Nagbe. Mr. Nagbe, welcome to Tough Talking Thursday.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Also want to welcome Dr. Abdoulaye Dukule, someone who has worked with President Sirleaf and probably a very good friend. Dr. Dukule, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm pleased to be here, and hello to our co-panelists.
Last and definitely not the least is our governance consultant, Mr. Ahmed Sirleaf. Mr. Sirleaf, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure. Let's do it.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Tough Talking Thursday. We want you to invite your friend. Please share the show, and let's get started. Well, you might have watched the press conference of the police director, that's the Monrovia City Police Director, Mr. Gawo. He went to Monrovia. Why in the States? He said he met some Liberians, Mr. Councillor Jerome Verdia, Mr. Stanton Witherspoon, Mr. Sheikh Shakar, and former Deputy Information Minister Eugene Lamin Fagon. And they were trying to get him to lie on Mr. Koji, his boss. Well, he made that revelation. There were some, even before that, there were some tapes played about, conversation going on. For me, I try to follow the story, and it was even hurting my head. Let me start with you, Victor, to make sense out of nonsense for me. I really don't. What you make of this story? Is it? For me, I couldn't really wrap my brain around it. What's going on here? First of all, I think he said he came on a pastoral conference or something. So help me make sense out of nonsense.
Dennis, first of all, good evening again. Good evening to my fellow panelists as well as to our listeners. This is, I would say, one of the consequences of our current social media and the way news is disseminated and consumed as well. Quite frankly, this really is absolutely no news. I don't see any news in it. Just as you indicated, so all of this, where is the church conference in all this? Because that is why this gentleman came to the States. We didn't hear that. How did he allow himself to be picked up by these people from the airport. I mean, he's coming to a conference. Usually, you have your contact people who will pick you up from the airport. So he comes in. He says he's picked up and taken into the basement and all of this. So that's that. Um, and this is a full-grown man who is basically claiming that he was more or less held against his will. The way he's describing it, Shaq takes him and take him to a basement. He wants to leave, and they say you can't leave, and then you got to talk and all of that. So that's that too. But more than this, the names he's calling, Witherspoon is, he's a journalist. He has a media institution. He's looking for news. And so there's nothing, it happens all the time. People pay for news, even here in the States. People will pay you if, you have news to give. So if they offer to give him money in exchange for whatever information that he may have had, I don't really see anything wrong with that. It makes it sound as though, there is something pugnacious, that these people are planning, and they fell face flat on the ground because he did not play ball and all of that. But you said he gave him $600 or $400. What did he do with it? He didn't give it back. So really, we can talk about it. The last time I was on the show, I had said that I think it would be presumptuous for us to attempt to debate the facts of this case when we really don't have them, because all we are getting are snippets from the both sides. One from Councillor Johnson, a very bombastic state gentleman, who really seems to do more talking than law. But I'm excited that he seems to be the one talking for the councillor, because I think if there's anything to be had out of this is, if you feel you were maligned, wrongly accused, go to court. You're the lawyer. Why don't you take the matter to court? So, he's back in Monrovia. I'm happy he's back. I hope his family is okay, because I heard one of the commentators saying something about, his family may have been held hostage to compel him to return to Monrovia and all of that. So, I just feel there's more to follow. I don't think we've seen the rest of this story yet.
Thank you. Dr. Duke, you've seen a lot of this. You're working in government, out of government, in the diplomatic field. What is your feel of this story? Someone was telling me, say, this is Colongo Luo 2.0, and some may not even remember that story. But we've seen a lot of these. People are called in to be state witness and all that. What you make of this story and the ways of unfolding?
I think, as Victor put it, there's no story here. I mean, there's nothing here to really think about. It just said that we almost find it normal that our government officials, the director of the city police of Monrovia, will come to the U.S., entangle himself with people who are against the government, purport to be recording them, committing an act of espionage. That's what he's admitting to, because he came here and recorded people. That kind of amateur thing of doing politics. And then you go back to Monrovia, and then you go, oh, they try to, who called you? You, the police director from Monrovia, you come to the state, you say, oh, I'm running away. So what? And then you go back because they held your family, and then you want people to believe something different. There's nothing here to talk about. I mean, this is just amateur politics, the stupidity added to it, and it doesn't make sense. And it's a real nonsense. And the problem, the real problem is that we start to think that this is okay in Liberia, that Liberians will do this, that our government officials will do these kind of things. That's a danger.
But Dr. Duke, don't you think folks in America, for example, Councillor Verdier, because he started with this revelation about what transpire at the home of the former Chief Justice. So, for a person at the caliber of Councillor Verdier, when you talk, people listen. So when you make these kind of allegations and more or less without proof, you kind of play into this kind of thing. You give it legs, right? So it's like you really, because you started this.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Verdier started it, and I thought it was probably I would say reckless, kind of a quote unquote, at the time he made a statement, because it was totally new. Everybody was still under the shock in Monrovia, and it was not a time to come up with that kind of public accusation without giving a proof. But I heard the police director said he did talk to Verdier. So was he the guy who informed Verdier, who tipped Verdier about that news? So that's the issue. I mean, Verdier started it. It was a stupid thing to do. I mean, you don't bring this kind of accusation without giving without having every fact in your hands. So he did it. But does that mean a police director, on the pay of the government, receiving per diem to come to the U.S., goes and sit with opposition people and say, I'm trying to get news out of them? What is Spoon going to do? Spoon people, they never had that. They don't like the government. They say every day, so it's going to get from them. That's the whole stupidity. Because what was he getting from Verdier or Stanton or Fagon? These guys talk every day about the fact that they want to change the government through the ballot box. So what was new? I think he came and then he run into problems. Usually when you have a family, you want to run away, you send your family ahead. and then you say, okay, I'm going to join my family for a few days. And then you check out. But you don't check out and then start talking. And then they say, oh, your family's still here. And then you say, oh, okay, now I got to go back and justify what I did. I mean, it's a bad spy movie. A D-level spy movie.
Mr. Sirleaf, is this journalism? Is this politics? Is this security on security? What's your sense? Let's make sense of this. I've been trying to follow up, and I'm not really getting very far.
Yeah, I have to say, I just know snippets I read in Front Page Africa, and I watched the press conference with Councillor Arthur Johnson and the Thomas Gao individual. So beyond that, and what I know about various accusations and public allegations against Jefferson Kweji and the government, and specifically in the Councillor Gloria Musso-Scott case. So that's the extent I know. So that's my disclaimer. And now looking at it just from the face of it and what I've described to be the extent of my knowledge, I actually think to the contrary to Victor, and my all due respect to Dr. Dukule. I think there's something in here. This is journalism, yes, this is politics, it's security, but it also there are allegations in these recordings, or at least what the commentary I heard by the recording is that Councillor Verdier is essentially trying to get this individual to lie, to cook up stories about the mayor of the city of Monrovia, Jeff Kweji. You may not like the government, you may not like the individual, you may not like their politics. It's politics. You have different opinions, you have disagreement, you have different sides that you're on. That's fine. But someone at a level, as we like to say in Liberia, of Councillor Jerome Verdier, who is an erstwhile chairman of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Liberia, a commission that produced reports that is a subject of policy conversation, politics conversation, in terms of whether you implement the report or not, all kinds of things like that. Additionally, Councillor Verdier has an international organization that supposedly produces reports on affairs in Liberia, on politics, on human rights conditions, and allegedly on individuals who are committing human rights violations and atrocities in the country and against the government. So if such an individual is caught heard on tape, coaching someone, he's a lawyer. This guy is not a lawyer. I mean, just from his own exposition, you could tell without due respect and without knowing the guy, the extent of his education, you can compare him and Jerome Verdier. So if a lawyer is coaching an individual who is the director of the Monrovia City Police to make up evidence against an individual whom Jerome has been accusing, that is a problem. That is problematic. It undercuts Councilor Verdier's credibility. It undercuts allegations that Councilor Verdier has been making, and those that are contained in reports he himself has said in media appearances that they have reports, they have facts, they have evidence. He doesn't produce them. So to me, I see a mixed bag here. You have politics, you have legal problems. Jerome could get in trouble really with the U.S. government because if he provides information to the Congress, as he has said publicly that he has done so before, and now he's found to be someone who is manufacturing some kind of evidence against someone he's accused before, that can have all kinds of implications.
Well, it's important you mentioned that because this is not the first time that Councilor Verdier has accused Jefferson Kochi. In fact, he went at loggerhead with some members of the XYTRC because he was saying Jefferson Kochi did XYZ in the war, and the other colleagues said, no way, it didn't happen. We didn't have any information on Jefferson Kochi about the war. So, but Mr. Sirleaf, before I let you go, Eugene Fagon reacted, and he is not denying that they met this fellow. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, in fact, we got information from him and we can show it.
Right. And the fellow admitted that. He named names. And before I speak to the Eugene Fagon situation, I just have to also, full disclosure, I worked with Jerome Verdier before when he was chairman of the TRC. We were kind of friends until I don't understand why we're not friends anymore. He doesn't communicate, excommunicated a number of people who were very close to him. I helped to coordinate their work here in the diaspora, the Liberian TRC Diaspora Project. I extensively was involved with that work. I traveled to Liberia several times. I brought people to the country who provided support, technical and otherwise, to the work of the TRC. So just out of the gate, there's someone who I would not say something against that. I don't think is something practitioner that should be said. Yes, of course. Gao said that, look, I met with Eugene Fagon, I met with Stanton Witherspoon, I met with Sheikh Sakor. He named them in his press briefing that we saw, right? And so if Fagon said, look, I have something on this guy, and Fagon to be a rabble-rouser. He's a bombastic individual. He will say things, he will empty things, right? It could be true, or maybe he's just saying it, just calling somebody's bluff to get public attention, really. That's how I see Fagon. He's someone who, a lot of time, I don't find substance in how he engages in public discourses, but he likes to get attention. He likes to think very seriously about himself, and that's his right. That's fine. But in these kinds of circumstances, one has to be careful and take all precautions to be, you play politics, but play politics credibly. That's what I would say, because politics is ultimately a game of, it's a con game, really, at the end of the day. It's a con game. That's what McGuinness said, right? That politics is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for people who don't engage and don't trade in trickery and deceit and persuasion and such. So I understand all of that. That's politics, but play politics with credibility, with integrity.
Can I say something here before we go on? Ahmed, I have a problem with that analysis, because my problem is, first, why this director of police of the city of Monrovia, knowing pretty well that Verdier accused the mayor of staging the killing or being part of the killing of this girl, will come to the US and then go to these people. I would say, okay, if you wanted to go ask them question, where do you have information? I'm coming here as an official of the city of Monrovia. If you can do that. But he just went there to talk to them, and they gave him money, and then he goes back to Monrovia and says, no, they're trying to set me up. I don't want to buy that. It's too simplistic. Because what's the one reason that took him to go see Verdier, Fagon, and all those people who are opposed to the government and are on the government back every single day? There's no love story in Spoon for the government. So why would he come to the US and then run to these guys? If you had come official and say, yes, the government asked me to approach you to ask you what proof you have on this issue, he could do that.
That is, if I may just chime in real quick.
Yeah, what if that was a strategy to get information?
Exactly. What the guy says is a security individual. Did you hear his press conference? He said, I tried to endear myself to them. I tried to, ingratiate with them. Yeah. He said to get in that circle.
He said enter the circle.
It could be he was lying right now that he's in trouble. He's in Liberia. He's trying to make the story to look good to himself. That's fine. That also tells you the level of training that our national security, and then again, with all due respect to the professionals in Liberia, but we have a lot of work to do, right? That tells you there's a lack of sophistication. Even if you are, it's security on security, you try this deceit on deceit. The way he described the encounters is problematic. Even for me, they were like, who's this guy? Why will you, do all this? The guys, you are vulnerable, right? They will record you. They will do all kinds of things. They will set you up. They will take images of you and things like that. I get that, Dr. Drew. That's not my argument. My argument is do it credibly. The audio we heard, if Verdier was coaching the guy, look, sign this thing here. Can you say that's the allegation? I haven't really substantiated that yet, but say Jefferson did this person this person that. That's where I have the problem.
If they ask him to sign a letter, would he should have a letter. He should have a copy, right? They gave him something to sign. I'm sure he took a picture of it.
Well, so Mr. Nagbe, let's come to the credibility part, right? Because everything has to do with integrity. This is he say, she say, Right. Who are we to believe? Do you?
Well, this is what I said in my opening, that in the absence of the facts here, we're just conjecturing, right? This guy is saying that, and I get Mr. Sirleaf's point that he could be playing his part as a security guard, as a security man to get information. I get that, but he comes over here. He presents a picture of he was as if he was being coerced. He was under duress. He and these people started talking from Monrovia. If you follow him, they started talking from Monrovia. Somebody called him. I think he says called him from Monrovia. He told him he was going to call him back. He didn't call him until he got here. So the contact was already being initiated from Monrovia. That doesn't sound to me like someone who was being forced into anything. My point is, we don't have the facts of this case. What is at play here is commonplace. It happens all the time. You have the government in power and people are looking for information. Now, when we get the facts, and then we can go to the substantive nature of the facts. But I'm talking about the process in which all of this is happening, right? So he's in contact with these people. He says he has, recordings and all of that to prove it. We have to hear those. But I'm saying to you, the fact that he was invited by a journalist and offered money to tell his story, it happens all the time. That's what I'm saying. This is nothing new. It happens all the time. I don't think it means Mr. Witherspoon is necessarily or unnecessarily against the government. He's looking for a news story. And if he was offering money to pay, he was trying to buy the story. We get that all the time. I mean, we have these catch and kill stories happening all over the place. And so until we can get the facts to this, the establish credibility and all of that, I think we're just going by you say, I say. And I think it has the potential to lead us, astray. Now, if the facts are established, there's some damning allegation that he's making here. The city corporation seems to have more weapons or better armed than the police of the Republic of Liberia. That is concerning. What are they doing with these weapons? First of all, are they allowed to carry guns? That is something for concern. And why is the mayor stacking up, weapons That is also, a matter for concern. I know few governments in the past that would have called for a concern to investigate as to what is he doing with his weapons. Could he be planning something on his own? Who knows? So yes, there are some reasons for concern in there. But I'm saying, we don't have the facts. People are claiming that the tapes have been doctored. We don't know that. The Councillor Johnson, he said that his tapes were doctored. Witherspoon and Fargon are claiming pretty much the same thing. So then we're in the middle as to who is actually speaking the facts.
And I was talking about believability, right? So who's credible here? Who can you say, yeah, these people I can believe them? Because you were talking about weapons, right? So Mr. Nagbe, do you believe that does the chief of police look credible, or is it and co?
Yeah, if you follow the sequence of events, I was in Monrovia a few months back when this whole question of arms being brought into the country broke. Some of the newspapers were speculating as to, in fact, whether these weapons, if anybody is planning something, nefarious against the government, would they bring the arms in through the port of Monrovia? You understand me? So there was speculation as to actually whether this was not the beginning of a story that was being, manufactured by the mayor of the city corporation of Monrovia to eventually lob allegations against certain individuals in the community. So that is concerning. And I think the debate is still on as to whether they're even allowed to carry arms. Now, the Lord Mayor himself, he did say that they did see some arms. How and why is he doing this? That's not the work of the city corporation. I believe this is the work of the Monrovia National Police. I mean,
can I say something to what Mr. Nagbe said
Sure.
about Mr. Witherspoon's role? I think we're conflating a number of lines of argument or sets of facts here. So Witherspoon is less of a journalist and more of a political actor, I would say. I agree. Journalists, news people go after stories, big stories. They want to break stories. They want to investigate. They can find entry points. Sometimes money changes hands. Yes, that happens everywhere, all over the world. If that were the case that we were looking at in front of us here, I would have no argument there, right? But if you listen to Spoon TV and watch them talk, you listen to Witherspoon's politics, you understand that, like you yourself said, he doesn't like the government. Or I think it was Dr. Dukule who said he doesn't like the government. He's falling out of graces with them, or they have their differences. He's supporting other people. So he's a political actor. And this guy is one of the biggest media executives on our media landscape, whether in Liberia and the diaspora. Let's face it, he has radio stations that are connected to that are connected to Spoon Network, right? So people listen to him broadcast whatever he's saying.
Yeah, but
across the country. So so that's
we have to wonder, Mr. Sirleaf, why did he become so big? It's only because he is serving the people's interest. I mean, he's providing service that people gravitate towards. I mean, if we remove this current issue, you will be honest with yourself that the network has been very, very helpful in exposing some of these practices in government that we know are not in the interest of the people. You go to lists, I mean, the instances are infinite. This is why one of the reasons why they're so big, because people go there to get news. And they pay for news, but most of the time what they report turns out to be true. I mean, the president has gone ahead and dismissed some of the people from lists. You know the story. So it is not just that this guy is just fishing around for anything that doesn't sound good to the government. No, he is going after things that the government is doing that things that are not in the interest of the people. He's exposing those, and I think we should give him credit for that.
With you, I agree. I just admitted here that it's one of the biggest media magnets in the country, if not the largest, right? So that's probably good. You can't ignore him. Something what Witherspoon is the household name, what he's done and things that's exposed in our society. And yeah, so he has a place. I recognize that. I'm just saying to say that he's purely a journalist. I think he has blurred the line between journalism and politics, and this is where the problem is. So journalism, like every profession, has ethics. You have to abide by the ethics, right? So when you blur the line and you're playing politics and journalism at the same time, people have the right to question some of your motives and some of the things that you do. In terms
But
of
my question though is, are you questioning him or are you questioning the news that he did, the service that he's providing?
That's why I said we're conflicting things, right? So the arms you talk about, yes,
Right.
we were concerned about that. We came on this network. So what's going on here? Why is this happening in the country? Who's responsible? Is this government cooking something up? I said because of the election, we're concerned about national security. We talked about that, and so I'm not disputing. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just trying to say, and I'm not a CDC government apologist by any means, right? I'm just telling you, if I'm playing politics, I will have to try to be, I'll make sure that I have integrity and credibility as I do it. If I'm Jerome Verdier and I have the place in the society that he has, and working with the international actors as he's saying to expose things in the country, he is threatening. If what I heard on the tape and in the media recently is true, these are allegations. We're trying to understand the facts. He's doing is impugning he's undermining his own credibility, and that is problematic for him. So for me, it's more of a concern about him and his credibility in this whole saga. So we have to understand these different elements of the argument here.
Thank you. Councillor Brody has reached out to me. He's going to call in later to give us our story. In fact, he shared with me pictures of the director of police, Mr. Gawo, being tortured. And so, but those are too gruesome to put on the show. So he will call in later when we open the phone lines so that he can.
Those are some of the facts that I was
so that he can share his story. Let me hear from Dr. Duke. So Dr. Duke, we are at a point. What is it that the City Hall, Councillor Johnson and the director of police, what is it that they're trying to accomplish here?
Deflection. And I think from the beginning of this whole saga, there's always been this attempt to deflect attention from the real discussion. And up to now, we don't know how to say no head, no tail. Nobody knows what happened to that girl. I don't know why the mayor is on the defensive, because I think, in government or public relations, somebody sitting in America who is not in Liberia just get up on the radio and say, oh, the mayor armed somebody to go kill that person. The first thing I would do, I'm not going to call a press conference to defend myself. I'll sue you, or I'll ask you to provide the facts you have. And I'm not, I don't see why they're dragging in, this press, they talk so much, they spend so much time talking to the press rather than do their work as a police. If Jefferson Koji is worried about it, he should be helping the police to find out what happened. He has a police force. He has an army, because all these guns can be just for the police. He has an army at his disposal. And he knows Monrovia. People know Monrovia. Monrovia is a very small place. I'll tell you what, it's so small. My daughter's car was broken into on Center Street. She went to the police. They say, how did they break inside? After she told them, the next day, she got her papers back. So Monrovia is a small place. These things don't happen in the dark. It doesn't happen like that nobody knows. So I don't know why they're dragging this on. I think they're playing deflection, and the more they drag on talking about it, trying to find excuses, sending a police director to come and spy on Liberians in the diaspora, it's going to backfire on them. It's going to be what we call a political boomerang. Because I don't see the necessity. I mean, if you're not part of it, leave it. Just leave it. Do your work. Clean the city. Run it, clean the city. Run your campaign. You are Secretary General of a political party. Stop meddling in this thing that the police has to take over and investigate professional. We do have good investigators. There are very good police people in Monrovia, very good ones, and they can investigate anything. People don't tie their arms behind their back. So let them do the work, and I think they should just stop.
Right, and there are a lot of players here. So, Victor, I also I'm asking you the same question. What is the police mayor? What is everybody trying to accomplish? We see Councillor Arthur Johnson. I mean, the last time I saw him, he was the councillor for Mr. Musa Bility, and then we saw him. Now he's a councillor of Jefferson Koji.
Roy, I got to work.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to make his living. I get that, but I think really what is at play here, the way I see it, is really the major issue of this lady, the former Chief Justice's daughter, the circumstances that led to the several attacks on the home of the former Chief Justice and the eventual killing of her daughter, and the actors who participated in this process. I think this is actually the underlining case here that we're dancing around, and the person of interest seems to have vanished, Mr. Valley Taylor. But I think it appears to me what the Spoon Foundation and the other fellows were trying to do was to corroborate whatever information that they may have gathered relative to this case. Now, I'm saying again, do I agree with the manner in which it was done? The way it is heard on the recording, it doesn't look good. I agree. But I'm also saying, if you then take away the politics of it, which Mr. Sirleaf has pointed out, and look at it from the journalistic point of view, this is something that happens all the time. People will come to you and they will want information from you. They will offer you.
Councillor Brodia is not a journalist, right?
I agree with that. He's not. He's not.
So what is role in this?
So I'm glad that you said, he said he will call him. I believe he may be the, best suited to answer that. I can't explain that.
All right.
But my focus, because the person who provided the money, according to what we're hearing, is Mr. Witherspoon. I don't think Mr. Councillor Verdio was reportedly giving any money.
All right. So let's listen to Councillor Verdio for 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
Councillor Verdio, hello, sir. What's the story?
My focus, because the president, Mr. Jad.
Yes, sir. Please lower the volume on your side, and for 2 minutes, just tell us what's up with it. What you doing there? You're not a journalist. You are getting news, or what is it? What's your role?
Definitely, I'm not a journalist.
Okay.
This young man cried out for help. He was in Liberia and he communicated with me. And the reason I'm calling is simply because of the rubbish I hear coming from Ahmed Sirleaf.
Okay, but Councillor,
sorry, I'll take it back. I'll take it back.
Thank you.
Let me greet Honorable Victor, yourself, Victor Nagbe, yourself, and Dr. Duke. And I will try to be as brief as possible.
Please.
Hey, Jerome, what's up, man?
Contacted me whilst in Liberia. He said that his life is threatened, that he got tipped off, that they were coming after him, and because of that, he was sleeping in trees. He wasn't sleeping at home, and from his tree, he had a vantage position to see those who have been coming to his place. So I said, why are they after you? Is it because of the validator thing or something like that? He said he doesn't know. I said, but you should be clear to your authorities that you have never had a dealing before. You don't know me. I don't know you. I don't even know how you got my telephone call, my telephone number. So you should be afraid with your authorities that you have no dealing with me. And everything I say is my own. Okay? And then I've had that discussion with the young man, and that was it. The next time I can check my call log, I got a phone call from him on the Liberian number that I stole. So I said, hello, what is this? And then he identified himself. I said, oh, but you are calling me on a strange number. He said, I'm giving you the other number that I'm available on. This number I'm calling you on is blocked. Okay, and so I'm giving you another number. So I have two numbers for him that I will call you on. I said, okay. From there, he said, we shouldn't use this other number. I have all of that. I have the communications. And then he gave me the new number I've been communicating with him.
Councillor, before you continue, did you introduce yourself to him as Congress One?
Never.
Okay.
He's been taping. I know he's been taping from day one.
Right. Thank you.
Introduce myself that way. Yes.
All right. Let's get to when he was in America. What was the communication and what information did you gather from him?
I didn't precisely gather any information from him. Simply, he came to me for assistance. From Liberia, he said he was threatened, and I had a background information on how he was tortured. He didn't know. Up to now, I've not even told him that I had that information. So I was aware of his victimhood.
And did you provide the help he was looking for?
No. His recording, he exposed on the show that I was trying to interview him and counsel him as to what he wanted. If he wanted a political asylum, then he has to apply for it. And I told him another possibility, because he said he didn't want to go back to Liberia. Okay, if you don't want to go back to Liberia, then you have to marry or file for political asylum. As for the marriage part, I have nothing to do with that. But as for the political asylum, I can help you and find a lawyer who will do it for you. I will not file it because you are now contacting me. I will not do your political asylum. But I can prepare your statement. And when that statement is prepared, the lawyer will reduce his cost from $2,000 to something much lower. But better still, you have to explain your story. And this way he became, I think, conflicted. Because I told him, when you explain your story, I will have to interrogate you, and we'll do back and forth. When it's finalized, you go to the notary public, which is like you go into for an oath. Yeah. When the notary public approves that document, you sign it before them. When you bring it approved, then I will take it to the authorities or give it to your lawyer to use.
Thank you. All. So, Councillor, the voice.
Since that time, he didn't present his statement.
Right. The voice on the tape that was played, is it your voice? Is it exactly what you told him, or was there anything doctored?
Well, which voice? I have a very distinct voice, my brother. And just what I'm saying is what I heard in that tape also.
Okay.
You know, where I was telling him, you have to do your asylum, you have to give me your statement. He asked me, but I said, explain your story. He gave me his whole details, where he was born, his date of birth, all of his children, all his wife. I took all of those and vital statistics. Then I came to the point, what is your statement? Then he said, oh, you're not doing it for me. I said, no, it is your statement. He said, then what should I say? I can't tell you what to say. You have to tell us or tell me why you cannot return to Liberia. That's all.
So finally, were you at the Wawa, the restaurant, and did you write or help write that resignation letter?
No. Here's the point of the resignation letter. Okay? Those guys, he was in a car with Sheikh Sakor. And I called Sakor. I said, look, I have information from Monrovia. This man is about to be fired. And then on the phone, Sakor fired with him and said, oh, we have intelligence that you are about to be fired. He said, no, I don't want to be fired. I don't want to be fired. I prefer resigning than being fired. It was that point they started all of that. And then, they said they would send a letter to me. Sakor, Sheikh Sakor said, I will send a letter to you. So that you can. I said, well, resignation letter is simple. He said, but this man cannot compose. I said, okay, then I will look at it. And that's how I received it and I sent it back.
Thank you.
He said, precisely. He said he cannot return back. And if you don't want to return, how do you stay in America without a legal status? So I was counseling him on how to do it. And I told him, you have to present your story. He said, well, you ready for me? I said, no, you just describe your story. I will take notes and I will send it back to you. When it's okay, Then before you go to the notary public and sign in the presence of the notary public, is taking an oath. So all what Ahmed said is very surprising. I don't think he's aware of what is even in the public. Because if he heard the tip, he wouldn't say those things about me. It's not my character. I can never do that. I've been practicing law for many years, assisting people and all of that. That young man asked for money. Imagine if I had given him money. They will be spinning it now and say that I tried to coerce him or to influence his story. He asked for money.
Thank you, Councillor.
And all of that should be on his tip.
Right. We'll listen again. But thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it in regards to your guest in the studio.
Thank you. Let me start with let's wrap up on this topic. Let's go around the room. Ahmed, Victor, and Dr. Duke.
Well, he attacked me, so I was very shocked and surprised by that because I don't know that to be Councillor Verdier's character. Certainly not a relationship between him and me in the sense that I last was connected with him. So, and I don't see what I said so impugning to his character that will make him to insult me on public media.
He took it back.
I was, yes, well, but he did. Look, I was simply relating what is reported in the media. I gave disclaimer. I said, listen, this is the extent of the fact that I know. Front Page Africa reported this. This recording said this. Then I said, if he's a lawyer, right? You give conditional. I said, if all of that account is true, then it's not good for Councillor Verdier because his credibility, his integrity will be on the line. That's nothing bad to say about somebody, even someone you know, right? I wouldn't have attacked him or insulted him had he done the analysis in that manner. Now, I wouldn't have known that he had additional facts, he had additional evidence to create or give us a different perspective of the story as we know it. He just told us things that we didn't know. This may well be the fact, right? And that's why you give a disclaimer, you give conditional, as I did in the beginning. So that's how much I would say I was just really shocked and surprised, Councillor Verdier coming after me personally.
Thank you. Mr. Nagbe?
Yeah, if now that we've heard this part of it from Councillor Verdier, now, if you consider the whole thing in that context, then you understand even some of the recordings that we heard. You come to me, you ask me for help, and I'm asking you, what is it that is bothering you that you need help with? You don't want to tell me, but you want me to help you. You don't want to go back to Monrovia, but yet you are unwilling to explain why you don't want to go to Monrovia. Then why don't you want to go back? And this is where I was coming from, that until we get the facts of this matter, it's going to be very difficult. I think Councillor Verdier did himself a whole lot of good tonight with those those pieces of information that he provided. Because when you hear how this is being presented by Councillor Johnson and others, it just seems as though they sought this guy out and trying to draw information out of him, when in fact he was the one who reached out. I mean, Mr. Sirleaf, I know you're throwing up your hands, but this is what you and I heard just now.
Yeah, but we didn't know, right? Like we didn't know.
We didn't know. That's the point I've been making the whole time.
So we went right. So,
Dr. Duke.
Well, now we know, right? We know part of the story.
Now we know.
Yes. And from the beginning, I said, my question was, why did he have to come to the U.S. and reach out to opposition men, people who are not government friends? And that's now it's justified. So he was playing a game. And I have no reason to doubt Verdier over this guy. Really. I mean, I know some of these guys.
Right.
So I don't have any.
And knowing what happened, and he probably gave information to Councillor Verdier or Stanton and the rest of the folks, as Eugene is saying. His story in Monrovia now is, if I did this out of malice against the city mayor, why would I come back? Does that make any sense, Victor? that
it does.
The fact that he went back means he's innocent.
Right. It does make sense, Dennis. But then again, if you consider it in the context of where his family is, and from what we heard, that his family may be on the line for his return. I don't know. I think that's good enough reason for anyone to want to return. And now that he's back, of course, he will do everything possible to discredit whatever transpired here in the States. But they're saying they have a lot of other information that he proffered. I think some on the president and his social life with some of the younger females and all that stuff. So they seem they seem to have a lot more than he's letting on. And I think when you consider that, then you have to wonder whether, in fact, if he was being forced, whether all this information really was coming out of him by force, or was he willingly providing this information? Like I said, I think this case here is just, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I believe there is a whole lot yet to come that we don't know about yet.
I think so too. I think there's more to come, and I think we should leave at that.
Mr. Sirleaf, let's take a step back and look at the whole Liberian political system, security, and everything else. Does this factor in? Does it give you a picture of overall how things are in the country?
Yeah, of course. It has to make one wonder how much work we've done so far. How is our country moving forward? You can pick in any realm. Is it politically? What is rule of law, security, education, training of our professionals, how we treat one another, how we behave. We are civil people, or we are people who respect one another, have integrity. You can tell even among us when you engage in the discourse. You just heard the exchange just now, right? You have to insult someone before you can make your case, before you can refute what they've ordered about you. I think that, to me, this tells me we have a lot of work to do, because you look at a national figure, someone who comes and says, look, this person is a director general of the Monrovia City Corporation Police Force. And the MCC police is, it's a statutory body. It's a serious institution. It's supposed to be a serious institution. And here's the guy. He behaves based on what we got in the media, the way he conducted himself. Even if he was collecting intelligence on people in the diaspora, opponents of the government in the diaspora, right? Even if you wanted to reach out to Councillor Verdia for help, or was he trying to ingratiate himself to the councillor for other reasons? To me, it was just not sophisticated at all. And that speaks to a larger picture of some of the problems that we have in the country to deal with. And then you look at the politics, and then you look at how the media conducts itself, the quality of the media, the quality of the political dialogue, and what we do in the public square. There's a lot of problems, right? That's not to say other countries don't have problems. Someone will say, look, but everybody got problems. Even in America, nothing is perfect. We are just way, way behind in everything, as far as I can see snippets of, some of what we have dealing with. Somebody comes and says, I'm the number one human rights advocates in the country. This person is one of the best lawyers in the country. And then they conduct themselves in front of you. It leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, during his press conference, he also said that he graduated from Monrovia College, my alma mater, and he was not he was not a true representative of the Marcus camp, the way he was expressing. And so I wanted to start jumping for him and say fellow monkey, but I couldn't say that. So maybe that too is a reflection of how the standard of education from this high school has gone down.
Well, with all the doctors and professors and, why not, ambassadors, grab a title, whatever you like, and put on your name. That's it.
All right. That takes us to our next issue on President Sirleaf, the Iron Lady. Before we start, Dr. Duke he worked with President Sirleaf a long time. So President Sirleaf, from the time we've been hearing about her, as finance minister in the Tobruk's government, all the way to opposition leader and then president. Now she's ex-president, but she still has a lot of sway in Monrovia. Dr. Dukule, tell us a little bit about President. If someone to ask you, who is President Sirleaf, what will you say in 2 minutes?
She's a politician.
I want more.
She's a politician.
What does it mean to be a politician?
No, but I remember, she always says, I'm not a feminist, I'm not a woman politician, I'm a politician who happened to be a woman. And, as you said, you said everything from Turbo time, or long before that maybe, and then Doe, Taylor, the transitional governments, and then opposition, and the presidency. So she's still part of it. So
let's listen to her briefly.
My continuation in the struggle that represents the best that I can give. I've been pursuing the same kinds of objectives, whether it's women's rights or the protection of women, or whether it's just democratization, human rights promotion in society, and I've been doing this in my own country and in Africa generally for well over 2 decades, and so throughout the continent, I think my name gets recognized for someone who just keeps at it, just keep at the struggle, keep fighting for women's rights, keep fighting for the enhanced participation of women in society, keep fighting for women's leadership role. I think networking could be enhanced both within countries and between countries, among countries. Women need to reinforce each other's efforts in what they do. I think we need more women leaders, and so women should not shy away. We need women in politics. We need women to be those decision makers and those policy makers that are going to change the circumstances, the laws, and
That was President Sirleaf in 2003. What a difference time makes. So if you do a kind of quick brush through history, she was part of the TWP government that was overthrown in 1980, and then she became, she was not like the other people who were being judged and trial in what many agree was a kangaroo court. So she has been able to survive, and then she went. She started being, as Iron Lady as we know her now. During the Doe era, she ran for the Senate seat, won, and then she, like other politicians from the Action Party, refused to take the seat. Then there was an invasion that she was connected with. There was the Taylor War that she was connected with. She ran against Taylor in 1997 and lost. And that was a formidable force. She came back, ran on a UP ticket, won, formed a coalition with the Action Party and Unification Party, and she served 2 terms. She did not support her vice president in 2017 elections. She did not openly endorse anyone, but we saw there were some optics that showed that she actually was probably in favor of President Weah. Now we have President Weah in power. At that time, her son was put in jail, and maybe through her influence, he was set free. Now we see that people are alleging that she should be taking a side. She's taking side in these elections coming, and that person is definitely not her former Vice President Joseph Nima Boakai. Mr. Sirleaf, that was just a bird-eye view of a years of political life that this woman has spent, how will you describe President Sirleaf and her role or the impact she have had on Liberian politics?
Like Dr. Dukule said, that she's a politician. I would say, obviously, by virtue of her age and the breadth of the work that she has done, she's an experienced, sophisticated politician. Not only a politician, she's a public servant. She's a public leader, someone who comes from a different era, who got a different set of education and had a different set of experience over different generations, and therefore it's really put her in a place where, as I say, the elder can be seated and seeing what the youth standing and running around can't see. That's what she is. That's what she sees, right? So as a politician, today they will do something you like, tomorrow they do something you don't like because it's not they're falling out of your calculation, right? She's calculative. Obviously, she has had a huge impact on every facet of Liberian life, whether it's Liberia economic development, whether political transitions in the country. She has been there. I mean, the allegations that she contributed to, President Doe's removal from office, and some of what led to the conflict. She came to office and helped negotiate the retirement of all of Liberia's international debt, over $4 billion. She was also at the helm when she brought attention to the country that private, individuals, foundations, international governments, the international system came to Liberia, and our country got her name again, the reputation again, under our President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Why? Because, like I said, this is somebody who has trained and traveled and worked in the international system, work with people from all across the world. And this kind of person brings a different level of sophistication and understanding and experience. That's why we see her play when you see her perform, right? And that is the difference. That is the contrast to politicians of nowadays. She sees things and she calculates. She understands the political calculus that it will take, more than a master class that she will conduct on a piece of Liberian politics. That's what we see. When we see these things, sometimes we don't understand them. Why is she not supporting Barker? Why did she do this to Barker? Why is she appearing with we are? And, that's the symbolism of it. Now this is happening. Of course, she will continue as long as she's alive to have a hand in Liberian politics. Whether we like it or not, whether we like her politics or not, she has contributed in good ways, in sometimes not so good ways, to Liberian life, Liberian politics.
Mr. Nagbe, like not, she's a big player in Liberian politics.
No, she is, and rightfully she should be. I am quite frankly, personally, I'm conflicted on Madame Sirleaf. She came to the nation with impeccable credentials, Harvard trained, World Bank, she had served in government during the TWP era. So she should have had an understanding of the workings of government. So she left government, she became an activist, and the late President Doe chased her out of the country, and then she joined we understand she helped found the NPFL and help them prosecute the war on the Liberian people. And there were some very unflattering declarations that were attributed to her. She did apologize for some of those. So now she caused the destruction, and they finally gave her the mantle of power to come and help us out of the mess, And what does she bring? She brings in almost $5 billion into the country during her reign. There was a lot of goodwill towards her. First female president on the continent. Money was pouring in. I mean, from George Soros to Bill Gates, everybody was lavishing this woman with praise and money. And what did she do for the country? What did she do? I mean, look at the power supply in the country. We understand she bought a used power generator for $357 million. And where is it? Look at the roads. Look at the education system. She's sitting over there and talking about women empowerment. And she was in office when a 13-year-old girl was raped by a legislator and nothing was done about it. So I'm conflicted. But now, does she have a role to play in politics? Yes, that's all right. It's a constitutional right. I've heard some commentators say, she should vacate the seat and leave them alone. No, she has a right to participate. I mean, we see it all around the world. Today, Bill Clinton is still influential here in the politics here, let alone Barack Obama and George Bush and all these people. She is a former president. It's a democracy. If you don't like what she's selling, don't buy it. Don't vote for whoever she's promoting if you don't like her policies. So I think she has a right to participate. But as to, her performance in the mansion, she comes in there, she brings her children all in there, 3 of her children are serving in government. One of them is alleged to have plundered, NOCAL of over $120 million, So all of these things here. Now, is she responsible? She was the president. She came into office declaring corruption as her what? Enemy number one. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. And where did she leave us? Massive corruption in government. So, like I said, I'm conflicted. I can't say she shouldn't participate in what is happening. It's all right. But whether we should listen to her advice, that's a conflict that I have to deal with. Because unfortunately for me, she seemed to be advocating for some of the candidates that I'm leaning towards. So there is a conflict for me.
Those things that you are listing, that they just tell me that she's a human being. She has flaws. Is that the case?
Well, I agree with you, Dennis. She is a human being. She has flaws. I agree. But if the flaws are occurring in her area of expertise, right, then that is a problem. She's not a military person. So if a military situation is occurring, maybe we can say, she may not have a fairly good understanding of what the military does or stuff like that. But she's an economist, right? She is supposed to make decisions that will help and lift the country out of poverty. I don't think that's what we got after her 12 years in office.
Thank you. Dr. Dukule, one of those things that left a little bitter taste in the mouth of so many people for President Sirleaf is her participation in the war, and then the ban. She was banned for 30 years by the TRC, and because of that, you could tell, and you were part of those also who supported that action, that the TRC did not, she basically tossed it because she was implicated, right? And people keep referring to that. And the last thing people say that she gave up WIA. Are these blemishes on the legacy of President Sirleaf?
Okay. Let me take it to what you talk about, the human right, the war.
Yeah.
If I remember pretty well from everybody who was part of ACDL, which was what she approached them. Mm. The ACDL was a constitutional issue. They were working on constitutional issues. Amos Sawyer, Barontar, everything else. And then when the war started,
you said what? The ACDL was what? Constitutional?
ACDL, yeah, it was a political, they were pursuing legal means to unseat Doe or to make him, to force him to change course at the beginning. And then the war broke up, and from everyone, from Harry Graves, I remember, let rest in peace, Dr. Sawyer himself, Ellen, and she said it, Ellen and Harry Graves came to the ACDL and asked them to support Charles Taylor. Part of the ACDL wanted to do it. Another part, including Sawyer, said no, because we don't know this guy's projects. We don't know where he's going to go. But Ellen went ahead with Barontar and somebody else and Taylor Major and raised money and gave it to child slavery. That part I know. And she admitted it. She said it was $10,000. Some people say, Tomo, you say it was more than that she made, she campaigned more, but this is what I know. So the ACDL was not the one that created NPFL. The NPFL came to Harry Greaves, and Ellen came to the ACDL to ask for support. Half of them said no, the other half said yes, we'll do it, and then they went ahead and raised money. That's part of it. Regarding the TRC, I remember, Cyrus Budget, good thing, Cyrus Budget is alive. I was one of the first people when they started talking about hearings. I said the president has to be the first person to go. She has to be the first person, and she has to be live, let people hear her. If Cyrus is alive, anybody can ask him. We went through an email. He said, no, they don't want her to appear. They don't want it. I said, no, she has to be the one to set the tone. She has to be the first one to appear. And then in the morning, Cyrus called me and said, okay, we reached an agreement. I was in the States at the time. Say, she's going to do it by video. I said, whatever you do, but she has to be the first one to speak up. Because if she doesn't do it, her name is in the war issue. If she doesn't do it, there's no credibility in the process. That went well. I think she did her video thing. They asked her questions to answer in the battle. But then time came to sell the TRC process. And that's where I differ with Verdier and his team. By indicting a sitting president, you kill your project. Nobody's going to put himself in that position. We are human beings. We are not human. The woman fought for the president. She fought for 40 years to be there. She's there. And then you're trying to tell her, okay, now you got to give her power, and then you be banned from policy for 30 years, and you want her to carry on that project? If I was president, I wouldn't do it. You were president, you would not do it. But then she went and created the Human Rights Commission. And the Human Rights Commission was the one that's supposed to take over from her. When she created that commission, she had nothing to do with the TRC report. That commission worked under the legislature. So the Human Rights Commission was supposed to report to the legislature every year, and then she was supposed to get the report also. So I think there was a bad marketing on the part of the TRC people to sell their product. And then what happened later on? It just went down the drain. She created a commission that had no tooth, that was not working, that was hardly functioning, and she didn't do what she was supposed to do. I agree. I mean, it's Machiavellian to think about it that way, but that's what happened. By indicting her sitting there as a president, she said, okay, if I'm the one you want to shoot first, then I'm not going anywhere. But what she could do legally, she did it. She created a commission, gave them the little money they needed, but that was it. She wasn't going to hang herself.
And now it continues, right? No president wants to hang themselves. And so if you are president and you are found guilty for anything, you're going to fight against it. That's the standard?
No, it's not that. Well, if you're guilty of something, I think the TRC process, when you gather information, you analyze the information. There's a legal system that's supposed to talk about penalties and all of that.
Okay.
You see my point?
Right.
I think the TRC did its job. They collected the information that was needed. They did the analysis. And their recommendations say, okay, I think the recommendations, without calling names, should have been categorized and say, people who did it should be doing that. We can't go back and play quarterback.
Right. So let's fast forward 2017 to now.
Yeah.
Should Mrs. Sirleaf really come forward to maybe support somebody openly that we know, because she carries a lot of weight? So let's say you have your party, you can go along with your party, or if you're breaking with your party, to really wield the kind of power and the respect, should should President Sirleaf be very forthcoming as to who she supports in these elections?
This woman is 80 years old, frail, and we're talking about her like some kind of Joan of Arc.
2017 she wasn't though.
Huh?
He said 2017 she was still strong.
Yeah, well, but we're still talking about her today. Why? Because she has impacted, as Ahmed said, she has impacted political life. Either you like it or not, she's been there, she paid her dues, and she has a story to tell about Liberia. And how she defends herself, like any human being, like any politician. She did something good, she did something bad. There are things that, sometimes you don't want to talk to her. So sometimes you say, yeah, madam, you did well. She put Liberia on the map when we needed to have that visibility. And I don't think, Victor talked about all these so-called failures, the roads and all of that. I think Madam Sirleaf's job number one was to put a light on where we could do things. You see, this is what we need to do. Because the country, you remember 2005, where we were in 2005. The institutions, the government, the fiscal system, the police, the army. 2005, just remember Monrovia. 200 and some checkpoints around the city, wherever you want to go. And then we came down to a point where we could say, okay, we could have a transfer. We have GAC, we have a PPCC, we have this commission, that commission, many of them. But how do you do it? You create those commissions. Do you make them work or you don't work? But can Liberians take responsibility and say, okay, we have the GAC, why is not doing its job? We have PPCC, why is not doing its job? You appoint professionals. So you can, this casting blame, yeah, we don't have this, we don't have this. But why don't we make the ones that we have work? Why don't we have the police to work? Why don't we have the city police of Monrovia working? So she created an institution. She stabilized the country with the help of the international community. When people say $16 billion came in,
Dr. Duke, she's still around, and we are not hearing from her the way we should.
Yeah, but Madam is 80-some years old. What do you want her to be on the radio every day talking to people and say, do this, do that? She doesn't have to support anyone she doesn't want to. Boaka went to her birthday, probably for the first time in 5 years. They talked. He went back and saw her. We don't know what they talked about. Is she supporting Boaka? Is she supporting Cummings? We don't know. She hasn't said anything. Yeah, all we know is that Nyambli went to see her. They say she called Nyambli, and then to put Nyambli into Cummings camp, and people perceive that as being anti-Boaka. That's the conclusion we all jump at.
Mr. Sirleaf, sure. I don't know. You and the president have the same name, and then relationship there, full disclosure. But should she say something? Should she do something?
Well, usually I'm careful to discuss her, but I'm a Liberian professional. She's had impact on the country. Her children and I have paternal cousin relationships. So I get beaten by the extended family system that I have these policy differences at times with her, but she's a Liberian leader. She's we all discuss it with respect.
Thanks for the courage.
Exactly. So I say, Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the UN, used to say larger leadership. When you have the opportunity to provide larger leadership beyond yourself, bigger and larger than yourself, so that when you leave, your legacy endures. Your legacy ensures that the systems you put in place that Dr. Dukule talked about, yes, President Sirleaf took us from a mess. The country was really a pariah state. We all remember, right? 2003, that war that happened that let Taylor out of the country. Liberia was nowhere. Let's arrest and suspend the role she played up to that point. She got elected. She really galvanized international attention to this country. Brought the people Mr. Nagbe talked about and Dr. Dukule talked about, all cancer dead, and brought credible people. Some from diaspora, some were, credible, some were not so. Some came to collect their own, some really came to contribute. She did all of that. And then when you exit, your legacy at that age, that kind of leadership you provided, because she instituted these integrated institutions, put policy in place. I was in Liberia for 6 years. For the second half of our administration, I was there working for an international body, working very closely with the government. So I sat across the table from them. We engaged in these discussions, right? They said, look, the president, her first term, she put in place these soft policies, integrity institutions, the security to make sure that people can move freely around the country. That was her goal. And then the second term, it was more of, okay, so where are we leaving Liberia now when we leave so that it takes off, so that at least it continues, right? You build on the security, you start building the road, you're paying attention to infrastructure, that kind of thing. They did some of that, but it was a difficult leadership context if you just look at her presidency. And then transitioning out of that, that's where some of us are critical. Like, okay, if you want all the gains you made to be sustained and even endured and built upon, you will ensure that the people who you will turn this thing over to are people who will also build upon that and understand this. People say, well, you didn't do that. You give it to we are and see where we are, right? If you don't like we are, that's what you'll say. Is destroying everything. So that's where the debate is. And it's difficult to correct some of that now at this age that we all know she is. She's still engaging for her age in international events and things like that. But there are mistakes, that the president made. We believe that really, if not destroy her legacy, but put a big dent on her legacy. Those are things that it will have to be pro-Sirleaf people who really believe in a leadership model to come to try to correct some of that to fix. Otherwise, I would say it's very difficult to see her accomplishment at this point.
If I may quickly add, I know you want to go to the call, and I'm not really disputing what Mr. Sirleaf is saying and some of the stuff that Doug explained. But
I'm coming to you. I want Mr. Sirleaf to end with, what do you want President Sirleaf to do as of today?
Oh, as of today, she's an elderly state woman. She, as a mother, I think of her on the mother side a lot these days than the politician and all of that. When I talk to relatives, I want her to rest. I want to advise we, the younger people, to and she has documented her life. She has written the memoir. She's extensively published. This is not one of those Liberian educated people who don't document anything. She documents well. You just play her clip. She's very articulate. She's still very, her mental capacity is still intact, right? She's written a book. She's written extensively. She's well written about. So we have stuff to look at about her, about her style, and what she did, what she didn't do. We have that. Right now, I would just say continue to give soft counsel, guide the country so that it doesn't relapse. We don't go to conflict. We don't destroy what you build and where things are.
Thank you. Sometimes when the way Dr. Dukule talk about 80-year-old free, remind me of the papi. They say, oh, I'm old man. But at night, they and the boys can all be running around the same way. So this phrase, Victor, go ahead.
No, I just want to quickly add, Dennis. How people say you strike the iron while it is hot, right? So this president comes to the office, people are falling hand over fist, trying to help the country. I hate to make this kind of comparison, but just look at Rwanda. And then you have the concept I'm trying to express it. So we are coming out of war, unfortunate war, but an opportunity to rebuild, start from fresh. She has the money coming. She have Bano. All these people are willing to raise money for her. Think big, engage the international community, get the money and build the country. What does she do? She weakens the legislature by increasing the salaries, to what, $15,000 or so, the money that we already didn't have in the coffers. Now, that was a smart attempt on her part to weaken the legislature that should have been a check on her power or whatever she was doing. And that kind of gave her the free rein to do some of the stuff that I described earlier. So I think I agree with the former vice president when he said they squandered, a lot of opportunities. And I think that is the truest sense of squandering goodwill. I think there was a lot of goodwill that she could have really taken advantage of if she had the will to do so. I think she was just unwilling to do so.
If I'm
Yeah, Dr. Duke, I was thinking you're going to respond. So let's do that.
no,
And
I'm not going to.
before you come on, let me announce that if you want to join the conversation, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Dr. Duke.
Yeah, I want to. I don't want to respond really. Just say that when people talk about $16 billion investment, it's not true. I was part of some negotiation, or at least 2 concession agreements. Those people are going to spend $50-60 million over the next 25 years. That's part of the $16 billion. But at the beginning, they invested probably $2-3 million. So when ArcelorMittal said we're going to spend $1.2 billion in Liberia, they spent probably $300-400 million to get started, and the rest will come in $10 million, $20 million down the line. So we didn't have that kind of money. People talk about Bill Gates and Soros. They gave money. I was running a program for the UN, the MDGs and to the SDGs. I was running that program for the UN. Madam Sirleaf named me secretary. We raised money from Soros Foundation, from Hewlett Packard, from Bill Gates. Those are small, that's what they did. Most of these foundations, that's what they did. The Bill Clinton Foundation, they didn't give you money. They come, if you have a project, they say, okay, we give you $10,000, or what is his name? Tony Blair came to Liberia. I'm going to invest in Liberia. What he did, he raised money from the USAID and then bring 5-6 college graduates to Liberia to work for the president's office. His country has $2-4 million a year, but there's no money. He took the money from the USA, hired some college graduate from Britain, brought them to Monrovia. They did paperwork from the president's office, and then they count that as aid. No, there was no money. Tony Blair didn't bring a dime to Monrovia. He took it. And that's the case with a lot of many issues that we have. So this is a notion that, $16 billion came in. We have Soros never went to Monrovia. I went to Soros' house. He invited the president. She sent me. I went to his house. But he never sent money. He said, what kind of project you have? Research, democracy, governance. That's what they put the money in. They send $200,000-300,000 a year. That's not money to build a country with.
Right. But
in the 2017 election, I'm not going to say defend that Madam Sirleaf did or did not. I still want people to think that it was possible for we to win these elections because of the breakdown in the Unity Party, the ruling party. A chief lady told me in Nimba that when Bouakai came to campaign, they asked him, when the old man coming? He said, well, I'm not sure. 2 weeks after that, Prince Johnson came, he said, if you vote for the old man, he's going to send me to the World Crime Court. So you got to vote for George Weah. And he cried on the stage. And the whole time, they never asked anybody that question. Bouakai came back later on, they said, we already made up our mind. So it was possible that Weah could win the elections.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's open the phone lines, and after, let's listen to Enter Miata Formula encouraging us to vote. October 10th. Welcome back to Tough Talking Thursday. My name is Dennis Jah on Focus on Liberia, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight we've discussed the issue with our Chief of Police Director, that's Mr. Thomas Garrow. He's in Monrovia saying they were trying to force me to lie on my boss. And also talking about President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her impact or role in Liberian politics. At this time, we're going to open the phone lines and get views of our listeners. The first is Mr. Elvis Morris. Mr. Morris, you are live.
Thank you, Mr. Guy, and hello to your panelists. With all due respect, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for all of the intellectuals, the intelligent gentlemen on the panel tonight. But I think we all have to be two process thinkers when we're discussing issues like these. First of all, when we talk about Jerome Verdier, Councilor Verdier, we have to look at his history, and I think Mr. Nagbe may have a personal relationship with him, so maybe sometimes it clouds people, true feelings about something, and they try to cover up because they look at that person as a personal friend. But this guy has made unsubstantiated claims before, and when they asked him, he said he don't know anything. When they asked the woman who he claimed he was speaking on behalf, she said, "I'm gonna go ask him." So for me, I like to be balanced. What I heard on the tape of Councilor, Verdier saying, I don't think it's an indictment on him or on his character in that particular instance. But he is not trustworthy individual for us to say that we will take his word over the corner word. I think it would be disingenuous for us to think that he is the end all be all when it comes to integrity. He's not. We know his history, we know his character.
Right.
And then secondly, to move on to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
No, before you move on,
before you move,
what is on the tape that is indicting, or you say, about his, what did he do?
I said it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't indicting, and I was being fair to him because I was being critical of him in other instances.
All right, thank you.
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
But again, when we're talking about who do we believe, whether we believe him or the police, director, I mean, he shouldn't get a leg up on that gentleman because we know his history. We all know the police director history in terms of him lying or bearing false witnesses, but we know various history. So we should always take it with a grain of salt. The second with the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf situation, I think she said.
Can you give a little volume? You're going down low. A little volume.
Are you hearing me?
Okay.
You hearing me well?
Okay. Now you are.
Yes, I think she said, well, break the executive mansion down, we'll build it back in 3 days. This lady openly called for the destruction of the country. So when somebody like Dr. Dukule, who was a man of integrity, tried to excuse her and give her immunity from prosecution for her part that she,
how does he do that?
He said that they should assess there's something, and then he used a certain word, but I can't remember. But he said something about the finding that they had. They should suspend it. He said something about suspending it. So when the TRC recommended her for excluding her from politics, he's saying that they shouldn't have done that. If it was him in that same position, he wouldn't have accepted it.
Okay.
And these are our elders. These are people who we should be taking guidance from on how to behave ourselves in terms of our integrity and how we should, if people like us were ever to get in a position of power, how we should govern ourselves. So because we're in a position of power, if we do something wrong and the country is trying to hold us accountable, we should be immune from it because we're the one in power at the time. So I think for Dr. Duke to say that is disappointing because Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was integral. Not just her money, but her influence on the international community, that was what gathered a lot of momentum behind Charles Taylor. So more so than her money was her influence that she gave Charles Taylor to bring the war in the country. So we shouldn't be naive on this topic. We should be honest with ourselves, even though he served with her and he knows her personally. There's the personal connection again, like I said with Mr. Nagbe, talking about Dr. Dukule. When you have a personal connection with somebody, it's hard to talk against them. And when we're on platforms like this, some of us, we know it, we study a little bit of history, we know what already happened. You got to be honest with us. And if you want us to respect you and revere you as an elder statesman, you got to be honest with us. I'll leave it there. Thank you for taking my call.
Can I respond quick? 10 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, sir, I don't think I justify what she did or she didn't do. I said she was in a defensive mode. that if she's a sitting president, you induct her, her normal reaction is to back up, to defend herself. And that's what she did. I say it's Machiavellian, it sounds bad, but that's what any politicians would do. Anybody who's sitting president, if commission comes and say, we induct you first before everybody else, well, you know what happens. It's power. That's the logical power. You shouldn't play around it. I'm explaining the rationale behind her action rather than justifying it.
Thank you. Let me take our next caller here. That's Benjamin Jonah. Ben, go ahead, you're live.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think that caller took a lot of my notes. Well, first of all, I would start with the issue about the intelligence collection. I don't think there's a format that is out there how people should collect intelligence. I'm sure if that guy was a white guy who have collected those information that he got, we will all be praising him. But because he's an African in Nigeria, people are overlooking what he got. Now, let's go to the next point here. My next point here is that I'm also a little bit disappointed in Dr. Duke and the way how he spoke. And he and Mr. Sirleaf, they use a particular word that I say Ellen put Liberia on the map. My question to both of them is that who took Liberia off the map? It was Ellen. She took us off the map. So putting us back is not we should not give her any prize for that. If you had not given that $10,000 to come and destroy our country, there was no need of rebuilding it. So we should not give her a prize. No, we should not.
So what should we do to her?
Well, she should not be. No, here is a woman who works with a man as his vice, as her vice president. Even though we know she did not support him, but she is not able to tell the Liberian why the man should not be the president. She is hiding something again. And yet we have this man again on the ballot. And she has her mouth closed about him. Like, why? Like, why is she doing this to the Liberian people? Why? And then, the last thing here is Jerry Berger. I already spoke to my state senator. One thing that I was waiting for that was left out in my portfolio to send to my senator was for him to admit, and it is good that he admitted that his voice on that tape was him. Here is a man who is not a lawyer in America. He's not a counselor, but he's counseling people. And the tape, you see how this man is telling this man how he would lie. It's an immigration scheme and fraud. And I just wish all of the panelists were looking at his eyes and asking, since you said this was you on the tape, why were you doing X, Y, and Z? But again, I think it's upon all of us who sits on these platforms to call people Jerry Berger out for the kind of action for the kind of things that they find themselves in. This man is not a good man. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Let me get the last caller here. That's Jefferson. Jeff, you live.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. On the tape issue, I think it's a game because if you try to interview somebody, you give them a question and they respond the way they want to respond to narrate their side. But when you coach them to say what they want to say, I'm not a supporter, neither a lover or job. We are administration, but the fact must be the fact, right? So that tape is still not authentic in my view because I listened to it and I yet to grab what they really want, the intent. The second thing is that I hate the fact that people be hating Ellie Johnson Sally because of the name. Ellie Johnson, for me, she's synonymous to evil, destruction. She made Liberia to be what it is today. She made Liberia to have politics as the only way forward for life. She made Liberia to be a country where people cannot be trusted. The first thing, corruption be number one problem anyway. What is corruption today? When she left, it was vampire roaming all the streets, all the public offices. What did we get? Nothing. institutionalized bill, LACC report came out, no backing. The Independent Human Rights Commission, what is it working? The government commissions, where are they? The GSC report, why did you fall with John Molo? Why did you fall with data science? So let people not be pressing Ellen for destroying our country, delaying our future, and delaying everything like Liberia today. Ellen need to be prosecuted. And I think one of the bad things the TRC did was they should have started TRC before election. So I will agree on that the fact that she was already a president. You not allow her to resign, but the pressure on the citizens have pressure. Indeed, the report must be implemented, and it's still not late. We need a serious-minded government that will champion the cause of the Liberian people, take them from where they are, and let everybody have the life to live. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you. I don't want to take it so long because I wanted to ask, how is she responsible for all that? But William Jala, go ahead. You are live for 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Dennis Jah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dennis, and hi to you and your panelists. I want to speak to the issue regarding Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has dominated and controlled the political landscape of Liberia for so many years. In spite of everything that she contributed to that country, to the downfall of that country, for instance, her sponsoring the war that got the country destroyed, with so many people losing their lives. The Liberian people, after everything was said and done, after the war had subsided, she returned to Liberia to contest the election, the presidency. Liberians still went to the pool and voted for her, even though she contested against former warlord Charles Taylor and lost that election. But she still went ahead. She still didn't give up. She kept trying until finally she won. She governed for 12 unbroken years. Liberians tolerated her in spite of everything she did to destroy their lives. But at the end of her presidency, she decided that she would choose for Liberia a president. That's how George Weah came into the picture. And we all know what the outcome of George Weah's presidency after 6 years. He failed miserably. So many Liberians, millions of Liberians are languishing in poverty and degradation.
Thank you, sir.
So when we wonder what is it that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf wants from the Liberian people? Why is it that this woman cannot retire, step aside, and create a space for other people, to allow other people to occupy the space? She's again at it. She's putting her thumb on the scale.
She has retired.
One thing she needs to understand: Liberians are no longer going to allow her to dictate to them who their next president is going to be. They are prepared to stand up to her and challenge her. This will be a rebuke to her. Enough is enough. Don't she see how many Liberians are suffering?
Thank you, William.
For the past 6 years, she has just kept mute without saying a thing. And she knows what is going on in the country.
Thank you.
And then all of a sudden, she wants to inject herself into the process again. But I have a news for her. Whoever she's putting her thumb on the scale for is going to lose, and that would be an indictment on the former president.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother.
Go and rest and enjoy her advanced age in peace.
Thank you. We got two more callers, but let me go back to my panelists. Mr. Sirleaf, any comment before I take the last two callers?
Yes, quickly. So let me go revisit the TRC Sirleaf indictment Dr. Du was talking about. It was not as simple as that. So, and maybe Jerome will call again to say something because I was close to that work. So I kind of and I studied about transitional justice, where a truth commission is just one of these processes. Any truth commission anywhere in the world, right? They at the end of their work, they have two options. You have judicial processes and non-judicial processes, right? You investigate, you collect evidence, you conduct public hearings, you invite the people who have been implicated somehow and listen to them. And then you look at the evidence, right? And you have a process to then decide whether this person goes to the judicial process, that prosecution be recommended for prosecution, or some other non-judicial process. For President Sirleaf, they concluded, I think there's a mechanism called, a process called lustration. Lustration is where you recommend a person who was implicated in the work of the commission, why the commission is investigating, right, to be banned from civic life or political life of the country for a period of time. It could be for a year or whatever, just depending on the level of complicity in the particular crime. And so the commission reach a conclusion based on evidence. And President Sirleaf herself, I think, shot herself in the foot, like Dr. Duke said. Not only did she refuse to set the tone to provide a larger leadership, testify, support the commission openly so the Liberians will see that it's a credible commission, she refused to do that. It was a maneuver. She surprised the commission one day, just show up at the TRC office. She didn't do video. She testified in person. But I can tell you, it was very hostile based on the account. I was in there to witness the account I gathered and read. It was a very hostile testimony. She showed up. It wasn't live on radio or anything. Started, intimidating. Is this how you guys do it? And then they collected stuff for her. They asked her questions. Hurriedly, she left from there. So the commission used that. They recommended. They said, look, we're objective. We have a statutory mandate. You can be president, you can be whoever, any Liberian who was implicated in the war that the commission is investigating from 1973 to 2003. We reach a conclusion based on the evidence and make the recommendation. That's why we saw that recommendation. Of course, it wasn't politically prudent, right? I was in New York when the report was released, and one of the partners came to me from the International Center for Transitional Justice and said, the commission killed the report. Just like Dr. Duke said, the commission killed itself. These are people who are working around the world on Truth Commission on human rights. I said, why? What do you mean? Why did they lustrate President Sirleaf? She's never really supported the commission. The report would never be implemented. And that's what we're seeing today. So in that respect, she didn't really provide the leadership she ought to have provided. And that's the legacy of what we're seeing, the torso of what happens to the TRC report and so forth and so on. And I can finally close with this. I can understand why people are saying what they're saying, right? We stated in the beginning, at least what I said was, because of the length of time she's been in politics, what she's done, the leadership she's provided, what she has not done, of course, it's politics. She's a politician. She will do things people disagree with, people would not like at all. There are others who will praise her. There are others who will come on this platform, or they will do those sing President Sirleaf, how great a leader she is, how she liberated Liberia from where it was, a pariah state, and forget about contributions she may have made that led the country to be to where it was when she became president. So I would just say it's the nature of politics, unfortunately. And she's a leader who dominated our politics. So that's a reflection we're hearing in this course.
Thank you. Let me quickly take the last two calls now. And callers, please be very brief. We have Hassan. You have 45 seconds. Go ahead, Hassan.
All right. I wasn't going to call Dennis, but I decided because most of the callers I was calling, I think they were all over the place. Listen, with the Sirleaf Liberian thing and Jefferson Koji, right? Jefferson Koji is no sin. I mean, como saying where there's smoke, there's fire, and with all these guns that are coming into other countries and stuff like that, I honestly think that police director felt somewhat threatened
That's why he came out reaching the people. He didn't just go out of the way try to fishing for who don't like the government or whatever it is and stuff like that. As far as Ellen Johnson, Sirleaf, we have to be honest with ourselves, right? Ellen Johnson supporting the war versus people that actually participated in the war is two different things. So when you got Liberians calling and say, oh, you know, she's single-handedly responsible. I think she was the one toting guns back and forth in the bush and killing and slaughtering people and stuff like that. Those things have to get checked. Because I feel like when they say every time Ellen gets mentioned in Liberian politics or when it comes to this war, people always compare her or try to equivalent her role to the same as the Charles Taylor or whatever. I don't know no Liberian that didn't. So I don't know no Liberian person that wouldn't want it, that didn't support Dole for the removal of Dole or even Charles Taylor, right? I support the removal of Charles Taylor, right? So if I even donated money to that thing, it doesn't mean I support Damata Kone going and committing crimes against humanity, right? It doesn't mean that I'm giving orders to Sekou Damata or whosoever in charge of this thing, giving direct orders to go slaughter this village and do this one and do that one. I'm only supporting the removal or Charles Taylor or whosoever that's there. So people have to start doing this false equivalency when it comes to work.
Thank you. There's a wireless caller here, or 385 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
This is Johnny Wula. I'm calling from Utah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Thanks, Dennis, and thanks for your panelists. You know, I sat down here listening to them. I mean, they gave their, the Liberian mentor 1212. You know, but the fact of the matter is that we got to be able to graduate from this. You know, people saying, oh, Ellen didn't do well, Ellen did well, this other person doing well, because that's what you see in Liberia right now. There are people who, when I went to Liberia recently, there were people who cried, Uncle, please help me. Uncle, please help me. I'm hungry. I don't have no job. All right, but these same people going to CDC yard every day praising George Weah for what he and his boys are doing. All right? And so I have determined that I'm not going to support nobody who supported that. All right? Because you definitely telling me that it's okay. Yeah. Their leadership is okay. What they're doing is okay. All right? And it's the same thing I'm hearing on the panel. Oh, Ellen did pretty good. She, took Liberia from where it was. Ellen was the same person who supported the war, brought this war on us. That today some of us we are in exile. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be able to we as Liberians gotta be able to graduate from this thing, praising people who have done evil against us.
Thank you.
And that's why you see most of these people don't want to allow the war and economic crime code to come in Liberia because they're all gonna be persecuted. And so they're turning their backs on it because it will come right to their doorsteps. That's why we should be preaching about.
Thank you.
Whether panelists or not panelists, well-loving Liberians should be able to say, look, you're bringing the war, the economic and war crime code to Liberia so we can persecute these people. Otherwise, we will not find all these people driving on the street who have killed our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Last caller is Joseph. Joseph Sibu. Sibu. Go ahead, Joseph. You are live.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Dennis, I think the last two callers basically made some of the points I wanted to make, especially when it comes to Ellen Johnson, especially given the last person who just spoke. But as it relates to the Verdier case, I think most people who are making excuses against points against Jerome Verdier did not actually critically listen to those tapes, because exactly what Jerome Verdier explained on the show, on the program tonight, was what I heard on those tapes. Tell us your story. They didn't put no words in the police director mouth. It was tell us your story. And he was there asking for help. There's numerous tapes. I've listened to most of them, So, to the United States. This communication started way before he got here. Okay, he got here except for a conference, but after your conference, you decided to reach out, and you reach out. They flew you to Philadelphia, and then they ask you for your story. If you want folks to help you, you actually insistently ask for help. Then what is your story? And he could not come up with a story. In the final analysis, I think there was a setup plan from back home for him to have come here, gather some information that would have put some sort of doubt on the Spoon Network, the Jerome Verdier and things like that, especially given the case of the former Chief Justice. You know. So we have to look at things in its totality. We have to listen to those tapes carefully and critically analyze what was said on those tapes to get a full understanding of what's going on. But again, I want to thank you and your panelists. I see my own brother, brother Victor Nagbe on here, and Ahmed from my brother from Minnesota. But you guys have done an awesome job tonight with the stories today.
Thank you so much. Dr. Duke, any response to, let's take a, Sirleaf did this already.
Yeah, well,
Victor
everybody is like, oh yeah, you supporting Ellen, you defending Ellen. I just explained some of the the reason behind some of the actions that she took. Do I agree? I don't agree. That's not the issue. You have to understand. I think that's what we try to do, to analyze issues and say, okay, this is what happened. This is my understanding. And that was my understanding about the TRC. I know what you're talking about. Sirleaf, to come back to your issue about the TRC, just like somebody told you in New York that they killed the report. When I made my first analysis of the issue, I put on the perspective. The former head of Sierra Leone for a Reconciliation Commission wrote back to me and said, yes, sir, I don't know you, but you made these points because these are the points that I made to the commission when they invited me to Monrovia. They invited me to the release. I said, you guys made a mistake in your marketing process. And he wrote, it's on the perspective. So that's not, it's not like I'm fabricating something and say, oh, Ellen should be excused. No, I said she should be there. I insisted. Cyrus Bojo is alive, and McLean is not here, but other people who were part of that conversation, I said, no, Madam has to be the first one to be there, and she has to do it publicly, and people have to hear her voice and admit what she did, and let pieces forward there. I stood for that.
Right.
Regarding the war, when the war was coming to Monrovia, how many people were drinking beer in Monrovia in February 1990 still? March, they say, oh, the war, yeah, they're killing the Maniwa and the Crown people. It's not going to reach Monrovia. The Americans will not ever let the war reach Monrovia. And everybody ran away, and then all of a sudden, one person did it all. One person created Alaji Kroma. One person created Prince Johnson. One person created George Bole. George Bole, LPC, he's sitting in the Senate. Somebody voted for him. Prince Johnson, somebody voted for him. Alaji Kroma was ambassador. And just then, now, we Liberian people, no, one person created all the havoc we have in the country. Wake up, that's not democracy. If you think she's culpable, you have a representative. You voted for somebody. Tell that person to go and speak up. You have a judge. If somebody killed your friend, you know the person is still out there. Say, this person killed my friend 10, 20 years ago. But you can't sit down and say, all of a sudden, when somebody come into politics, oh, this guy is this guy is that. All of a sudden, we discover Lewis Brown was Charles Taylor's national security advisor. You didn't know that when he was Minister of Information? You didn't know that when he was representing Liberia at the embassy in Washington, D.C., in New York, City at the United Nations, defending our cause? Do we know that Prince Johnson was a warlord before we elected him senator? What did Liberia do about it? Democracy is your power. You vote for people to represent you, to talk for you. You appoint judges. You don't sit down and say, somebody, America, bring me a war crime code. No. Who has put forward any plan for the war crime code in Liberia so far? No. Any group, any political group. Everybody, all the politicians, every political group is infested with people from the war, because we are coming from the war just 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And every political movement in the country would take those people because they are the one who run the country. Either we like it or not, the warlords are still part of our politics. So we want to claim the TRC report. I vote for it. I vote for it. I've spent 3 hours at the TRC report interviewing Sheikh Kafuba Kone, Marshall Washington, and what's his name, John Stewart, for 3 hours, trying to help them work. And Sirleaf, you took the job they were going to give to me because they said I was too close to Madam Sirleaf. But that's not the issue. Democracy is responsibility. Somebody has to be responsible. Yeah, Madam Sirleaf gave $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million to Charles Taylor, but who sent the kids to take the guns? Who created Prince Johnson? Who created George Boley? Who created Alaji Kroma? Sekou Damate? Please, I'm not defending Ellen. I'm just saying, take responsibility for what you're supposed to do for the country. Don't blame.
Thank you. Victor?
Yeah, Dennis, I'll just quickly say, I mean, and I said earlier that my own judgment of the former president's performance on the political space in Liberia is a mixed bag. We all know candidates are, applicants. You're interviewing for a job, you canvass for the job because you are coming with a skill set. We heard comments like flatten Monrovia to the ground and we'll rebuild it coming from this former president. Well, that almost happened. And then, of course, she was given the opportunity to rebuild, and where are we today? I don't think any of us here will agree that Liberia has been rebuilt since the war. She came in, and like I said, there was a lot of goodwill. Look, I met the former president in New York. I think it was 2013 or so. Anyway, that time Augustine Gaffron was the foreign minister. She came to the old Ethiopian church, the Abyssinian church, only to meet with her sorority sisters. Very few ladies. I think she raised over $2 million in that church. So, when Duke said $10,000 here and there, with all due respect, but I reject that. This lady had.
No, I'm talking about what she said. No. I said what she said. I don't know what she gave.
Okay.
She said she gave 10,000. I didn't say.
That's so, but there was a lot of goodwill, and I think she could have done a lot on the stage. She did not. Not only did she not do much, but she also encouraged the perforating, the corruption that happened in that country. It is during this president time that the legislators have these youth salaries that they have, which is still a burden on our cash flow in that country. It was during her time, only because she didn't want them to check whatever she was doing, and so she was passing out the brown envelopes. So I think to characterize her as this great president, I think we're setting the bar too low, and that's part of the problem in Liberia. We don't expect.
Nobody says she's a great president.
Too much.
No, I don't want you to be misconstrued.
I'm reading some of the comments here.
Nobody said she was a great president. We just
other people said it, maybe not you.
I'm reading some of the comments here, Dr. Dukule.
Okay, yeah.
Talking about you.
Sorry.
But to conclude, I really think that this president, she had a wonderful opportunity to do great things for the country. She just did not. And I don't think it's not because the opportunity was not available. She just didn't want to, or she was unable to, or both. She brought her children in the government, one of them running the security agency, one of them running the at the National Bank, the other one at NOCAL, and we all know what happened. Nepotism. She herself acknowledged that her government was nepotistic, and she said she bore responsibility for that. What kind of justification is that? So, but I still maintain that she is a Liberian. She has the constitutional right to play on the political stage. She can come out and endorse candidates. She can support candidates that she chooses. That's all right. But like I said, it's a democracy. If you don't like what she's selling, you don't have to buy it. But to tell her to leave the scene, I think it's right. It's wrong, because then you will be violating your own constitutional rights.
Thank you. There was a post that someone said, "Oh, why all these groomed men every day they are crying in President Sirleaf's name? Why they are crying?" And so I responded to that post. I said, "For me, I mean, when it comes to that, I say the same thing, right? But why all these people, everybody, this woman is 80 something years old and you are still crying in your name. Even at a time she can get up. But again, as I said, when which crying kill your baby here, you say which doesn't exist. So if you don't feel the weight of President Sirleaf, you can sit and rationalize and say, well, this oh my why they complaining. But that takes us to our moment of Tabata. Every day in Liberia, all over the world, there's some Tabata going on, and we are not afraid to call it out. Let me start with one of our Evan Morris said, my Tabata is people on Spoon TV engaging Witherspoon as if he's not a federally indicted person for purporting massive fraud against the American government. To Evans, that's Tabata. Dr. Drew, what's your Tabata of the week?
Where do I go? My Tabata of the week would be the press conference. That makes no sense, no head, no tail, but it's telling a story that still need to be told. So I think there is something in that onion. We have to keep peeling it. I think something deep in that onion. So that's my Tabata. The press conference by the police director of the city of Monrovia.
And he started by saying, I want to demystify first.
Okay, I've said peel the onion. Yeah.
Mr. Sirleaf, what's your Tabata of the week?
Oh, it has to be the running mate competition or race or whatever it is, vice presidential running mate, the mystery around what ANC is doing, who ANC is going to pick, who Cummings is going to pick, the negotiation, Yomble, Kanga Lawrence, Charlene Bromsky, who else it is, when is Tiawan Gonglo going to pick his running mate? This is just much ado about nothing, really. I mean, if you have a strong candidate, front runner ahead of the ticket, in most instances, it doesn't matter who the running mate is, really. I mean, it's just what the candidate is. That person's manifesto, the agenda, what it will do for the country is when you pick someone, the person just ought to line up behind that person and say, here is this person's agenda I'm promoting. But they're making it as though, the running mate becomes president automatically, and so such an importance is attached to it. I'm not saying it's not important, but it just shows how sometimes we trivialize things in ways that can be self-contradictory.
Victor?
I have to agree with both Dr. Dukule and Mr. Sirleaf.
You gotta find your own Tabata.
It's like they copied mine, and so I agree with them. I think this whole press conference thing that's back and forth is really a waste of airspace. I have to agree. And the vice presidential pick. I mean, look, in 2017, I think Dr. Boakai did not announce until July.
August.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for people to act as if time is running out and Mr. Cummings is under the gun, I don't understand it. So I don't have anything new in terms of the different. I agree with both of them.
There's I read in front page. They say a 16-year-old boy, stabbed his friend to death.
For girlfriend business.
Fighting over girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. 16 years old. But can he be charged as an adult though? It didn't say in the paper. I'm just wondering because I think he's being held.
In Liberia, unfortunately, sometimes the rule of law can be a challenge. The way it's practiced is minor under the law, right? But then sometimes the type of crime and nature of the crime, even here in the U.S., they can qualify a minor to be tried as an adult under certain circumstances. So we have to wait to see how, what the law says about that in Liberia.
All right. My Tabata is the president going to taking government officials and so much money spent to go see the coronation of King Charles. I don't know, but to me that's complete Tabata. We should spend that money, even if you divide dollar on all of us, to go to one Lapa Bido, spending money.
You mean your Tabata is the whole trip or the sideway video?
So
all the Uber, the alleged Uber.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much for tonight. Let's go around the room for 38 seconds each for your closing comments. Let me start with Mr. Sirleaf.
Well, thank you. Yet again, we've done our duty as public citizens to come here and engage in the public square, contribute to the discussions in our country, hoping for peace, for progress in Liberia. All these things that we do, I'm speaking for me, sacrifice your time and and resources. Sometimes the BS spend hours, people call you names and whatnot. We're doing it for the sake of and love of country at the end of the day. And when it comes to the issue with what Verdia did or didn't do, mine was really about you have a place in society, you earn a place in society, and you ought to protect that. And not suggesting he did this wrong, didn't do this wrong. And I'm saying the perception in the public and what's reported in the media specifically can be impugning and damaging to one's character and credibility, and that ought to be managed properly. So I was pleased that at least that induced a call from him and clarify things. I think that helps the debate. So I'm grateful that he could call and clarify and provide more evidence.
Thank you. Let's see a few Tabata before you come in, Dr. Duke. Flomo Livingston, my Tabata is the lawyer for the city mayor. Benjamin Jonah, my Tabata is Dr. Duke's tone of voice, depressing every time Ellen's name is mentioned. Vince Baker, my Tabata is CPP fishing in all the swamp, rivers, and mud for VP running mate like Fanti fishermen. Emmanuel Bro, my Tabata of the week is hearing some Liberians saying a lot of negative things about former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. William Jala, my Tabata has to do with ANC surrogates spending precious time on talking about the advanced age of the former Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai, who is just probably 10 years older than their political leader Alexander Cummings. Dr. Duke, your closing.
Yes, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Nagbe. We had a very good, fruitful conversation. Now that I have a tag on my face, I say, Ellen, apologies, I'm not going to dwell on that, but, I think we have, what we need to do in Liberia, one of the first things we need to do is take responsibility for what happens as a nation, that people stand up and say, this is our problem, we can resolve it. If you have a crisis, you have a legislature, you have a court system, make them work. Nobody's going to make them work for you. The U.S. ambassador indict people every day, and then you jump up in the newspaper, yes, yes, yes. But then after that, you do nothing. The U.S. is not going to run your country for you. The U.S. is not going to be the judge and the jury. They will just indict people on paper, and then you can do what you want. McGill being indicted for what? They say, but he's now the most popular person in Maghibi. Go tell that to Liberians, and who's that? Who brought McGill to them? So we have these things. We have to, I think there's a need to grow. For democracy, to say we are responsible. If somebody is responsible, somebody steals something, somebody kills somebody, why can't the police do its job? Why can't the court function? Do we ask ourselves why things don't work? Is that one person? Is that somebody paying everybody not to do their job? That legislature doesn't do their job, that they corrupt. Why they corrupt? Ellen gave them money. They took it from the Liberian coffers. The white Liberian people are silent about it. That's the problem. And our politicians, do they raise the issues? No. They gloss over everything, trying to get elected on the niceties that they can expose to people. And that's our problem, because we don't take responsibility for things that happen in our country that people are supposed to solve in a democracy and say, you done this, you can't be president. You have done this, you can't be senator. You have done this, you can't be this. Or you've done this, we're going to put you in jail. What is the system? What's the system? What's the link between security system and the court system? Where's the linkage? What is broken? We have a broken country.
Thank you. Abi Talos Tabata is telling an 80-year-old woman to go rest. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a debate, Friday night debate. Here we debate the political issue. We'll have people representing from different political backgrounds coming to debate the current issues of the day. You don't want to miss that. Mr. Nagbe, you're closing, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis, for the opportunity tonight, hopefully to contribute to the process in Liberia. I want to thank Dr. Dukule and Mr. Sirleaf also and the audience as well, for helping to broaden my perspective tonight on some of the matters. I'm hoping that, we quickly wake up from the vice presidential pick, the press conference, and all these things that are consuming the airspace, and really focus on some of the things that are going wrong in the country. I just hope we don't get too consumed with these, because I think we're giving this government a free pass for several months now. We've been on Buakai speak. Now we are on to CPP pick and all of that. After that, I don't know where next. So I hope that we can come back to debating the issues and sharpening the contradictions between what the opposition is offering and what this government is giving our people. I think this government is out of ideas. Nothing against the character-serving government, but I don't think they deserve another 6 years to put our people through what they've put us through over the past 6 years. I hope the opposition can find a way to unite their forces so that this president gets only one term. Thank you.
On that note, I say thank you so much for your time. I want to thank our viewers for watching, those who call in, those who comment, and even those who will watch later. Always watch Focus on Liberia, the best since 1847, because we do it like nobody else. Until then, we close with the song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you support Cummings, Bwaka, Gonglo, or Mandela Cooper, or you support nobody, we are all Liberians. What is incumbent upon all of us is to make our country the glorious land of liberty in whatever way possible. Good night, and God bless you. We are all Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. USA, all we want. Liberia, oh. USA, all we want. Liberia,